Welcome back to the Deep Dive. It is February 8th, 2026, and today we are looking at a document that, quite frankly, feels less like a corporate earnings report.
And more like a blueprint for a new industrial revolution.
Exactly. We're talking about Amazon's Q4 2025 report.
And it really is a beast of a document. It dropped just a few days ago on the 5th, and I think the market is still, trying to digest it.
I think digest is a very polite way of putting it. Choke on might be more accurate for some people. I mean, usually you look at these reports for profit margins, a little guidance maybe.
Right.
But this one, the headline number alone is it's eye-watering. Amazon plans to spend $200 billion in capital expenditures in 2026.
200 billion in a single fiscal year.
Just to put that into perspective for everyone listening, that is roughly the GDP of Greece or New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
They are spending an entire country's economic output just on what? Building more stuff.
That is the question of the hour. And honestly, if you look at the breakdown, this is not about building more warehouses to store cardboard boxes. This is a definitive pivot.
The pivot to what?
We're watching Amazon transition from being the everything store to becoming, I think, the AI infrastructure engine for the whole planet.
Okay, that's a really big claim.
Yeah.
Because to me, and probably to most people listening, Amazon is still the app I open when I need, running shoes or a new charger.
Of course.
But you're saying the real story is basically invisible.
Completely invisible. The retail side is the tip of the iceberg, but the mass underneath, the thing that's driving that $200 billion spend, is AWS, Amazon Web Services.
So let's start there. The cloud. For the last, year or so, the narrative has been that cloud growth was maturing, that the easy money was made.
That was the narrative, and this report just shattered it. AWS grew 24% year over year.
24%.
That is the fastest acceleration they have seen in 13 quarters. And you have to remember, the law of large numbers usually says growth should slow down as you get bigger.
And AWS is huge.
It's already a $142 billion annualized business. To grow a beast that size by 24% it's frankly unheard of.
Okay, but why? Is this just companies hoarding more data? Or is this the AI boom finally showing up on the balance sheet in a real way?
It is entirely the AI boom, but with a very specific twist. It's not just about software anymore, it's about the silicon. We have to talk about the chip war because Amazon is doing something here that I don't think people fully appreciate yet.
You mean their custom chips, right? Trainium and Graviton.
Exactly.
But let me play devil's advocate for a second. The entire world is running on NVIDIA. If I'm a CTO at a big company, why on earth would I risk my whole infrastructure on Amazon's, homebrewed chips?
That is the multi-billion-dollar question, and the answer really comes down to architecture. Think of a standard NVIDIA GPU like a Swiss Army knife. It's an incredible tool.
Right. It does everything.
It can render video games, mine crypto, simulate weather, and yes, train AI. It's a general-purpose beast. But Amazon's Trainium chip, it's not a Swiss Army knife. It's a scalpel.
A scalpel.
It's what's called an ASIC, an application-specific integrated circuit. It is designed to do exactly one thing: process the specific kind of math required for machine learning.
So it's a specialist.
A hyper-specialist. Because it sheds all that legacy baggage of graphics processing, it doesn't need to render pixels. It's smaller, more efficient, and it runs cooler.
Okay, and that lets them offer, a better price?
A price-performance difference that is just hard to ignore. They're claiming Trainium 2 is 30 to 40% better on price performance than comparable GPUs.
40% is a massive number if you're a startup burning through cash.
It's everything. If you're spending $10 million a month on compute and Amazon says, hey, use our chip and we'll knock that down to $6 million, you listen. And that's why these chips are now a $10 billion annualized revenue business on their own.
That's a Fortune 500 company just buried inside their server rooms.
And demand is just outstripping supply.
Yeah.
They mention in the report that Trainium 2 has landed 1.4 million chips. The next version, Trainium 3.
Yeah.
It is basically sold out through the middle of 2026.
Sold out. It's barely even been announced.
That is the hunger for compute right now. And it leads us to maybe the most sci-fi sounding part of the report, Project Rainier.
Yeah, I saw this Project Rainier. It sounds like something out of a spy novel. What is it, actually?
Physically, it's a monster. It is the world's largest AI compute cluster. They're building it with Anthropic to train their next model, Claude.
And we're talking about
Over 500,000 Trainium 2 chips, all wired together in a single mesh.
Hold on. 500,000 chips
Yeah.
in one spot.
Effectively.
The heat from that alone.
Yeah.
How do you even cool it? My laptop gets hot with one chip. Putting 500,000 in a cluster sounds like a thermal nightmare.
It is, and that is where Amazon's vertical integration becomes this moat that is almost impossible for anyone else to cross.
What do you mean?
Because they design the chip, they can design the server rack specifically for that chip's heat profile. Because they design the rack, they can design the entire data center building around those racks.
So they aren't just plugging servers into a wall outlet.
No, they're engineering the building itself as one giant machine. They're using massive liquid cooling systems at a scale that standard data centers just can't handle.
Which brings us back to that $200 billion CapEx number.
Precisely. You cannot run Project Rainier on a few AA batteries.
Right, let's talk about power. Because I keep reading that AI is going to break the entire energy grid. What did the report say about that?
It's staggering. In 2025, just in the last 12 months, AWS added almost 4 gigawatts of power capacity.
Okay, I'm not an electrical engineer. Help me out. Is 4 gigawatts a lot?
To put that in perspective, a standard nuclear power reactor produces about 1 gigawatt.
So in 1 year, Amazon added the equivalent of 4 nuclear power plants worth of energy capacity.
Yes, that's what they did.
That is just, it's absurd for one company.
Just for the cloud division. And that explains the money. They are effectively becoming an energy company. They're signing deals for small modular nuclear reactors. They're tapping into geothermal. They have to.
But I have to ask the skeptical question. Is this a bubble? They are spending $200 billion on concrete and copper and cooling towers based on the idea that AI demand just goes on forever?
That's the risk.
What if it stops? What if the hype cycle crashes?
Yeah.
It's a lot of empty buildings.
It is the massive gamble. But Andy Jassy, the CEO, he laid out this theory on the call that he calls the barbell demand curve. And I think it's a pretty compelling argument for why they're building this fast.
Okay, break down the barbell for me.
So imagine a barbell. On one side, you have the heavyweights. Those are the AI labs companies like Anthropic, OpenAI, and what he calls runway applications.
Yeah, heavy lifters.
Right. They are training models consuming massive, massive compute right now. Then on the other end of the bar, the other way, you have companies doing cost avoidance.
They're the efficiency plays.
Exactly. Customer service bots, coding assistants, simple stuff that saves money today.
Okay, I get it. But what about the bar in the middle? The handle.
That, he says, represents the massive wave of enterprise production workloads. Big companies completely reinventing their supply chains, their R&D, their core operations. And that hasn't even really hit yet. Jassy's argument is that the middle is about to fill in. And when it does, if you haven't built the power plants and the chips now, you won't be able to serve them.
So they are pre-building the capacity for the entire Fortune 500 to migrate to AI.
That's the bet. They're betting that the middle of the barbell is going to get very heavy, very, very fast.
It's an incredibly bold bet. But I want to pivot here. Because while Amazon is building these, nuclear-powered server farms, they are still the company that brings me my toothpaste.
They are.
And it seems like these two worlds, the high-tech AI and the low-tech cardboard box, are actually starting to merge.
They're deeply connected. In fact, I'd argue the retail side is becoming an AI application in and of itself.
Well, the report highlighted everyday essentials as this huge growth area. Toothpaste, soap, dog food. Why is Amazon focusing so hard on the boring stuff?
It's all about frequency. It's a psychological shift. If you buy a TV from Amazon, you might not come back for 6 months, a year.
Right.
But if you start buying your milk and your face wash from them, you build a habit. You build trust.
And the data shows what?
The stats back it up. Customers who rely on Amazon for essentials shop twice as frequently for everything else. It's their flywheel in action.
But to sell milk, you have to be fast. You can't wait 2 days for it.
And that is where the Amazon Now service comes in. Did you catch the expansion details on this?
I saw 30 minutes or less. And honestly, my skepticism radar went off again. We've been hearing about drone delivery and instant shipping for a decade.
Right.
Is this actually real, or is it just a PR stunt in a few zip codes?
That's what I thought, too.
Yeah.
But if you look at the numbers from India, Mexico, the UAE, this is a full-scale deployment. They're testing it in the US and UK now. And it's not really about drones. It's about something they call forward deployment.
What does that mean?
It means the algorithm, the AI, predicts what a specific neighborhood is going to need before they even order it.
So it's predictive.
It's predictive. They aren't shipping your coffee from a giant warehouse 2 hours away after you click buy. They already moved that coffee to a micro-fulfillment center 3 blocks from your house yesterday because the AI knew you were probably running low.
So the speed is just a byproduct of the prediction.
Exactly. They position the inventory so close to you that 30 minutes is just the physics of driving a scooter down the street. And the behavioral change is wild. In India, Prime members using this service tripled their shopping frequency.
Tripled it.
Because you stop making lists. You just think, I need batteries, you tap a button, and it's there before you finish watching a show.
Speaking of batteries, there was one feature that really blew my mind. The add to delivery feature.
Oh, this is a marvel of logistics.
For anyone who hasn't used it, you order something, say a book. Then 10 minutes later you realize, shoot, I also need batteries. You buy the batteries, and Amazon somehow puts them into the same box that is already moving through the system.
It sounds like such a simple convenience, doesn't it? But just think about the computation required to pull that off.
It seems impossible. That first box is already on a conveyor belt somewhere, moving at 10 miles an hour.
It is. The system has to physically locate that one specific box in a warehouse the size of 20 football fields, pause it or divert it, find the batteries, route them to merge with that box, and not slow down the entire line.
A human couldn't do that.
No way. It's a chaotic math problem that only an AI can orchestrate.
And are people using it?
Massive inflection. Just 6 months after it launched, it already represents 10% of all Prime volume.
Wow. That's incredible efficiency for them. Saves them on shipping costs. Saves me a cardboard box.
It's a win-win, but again, only if you have the cloud infrastructure to run those logistics in real time. It all comes back to the cloud.
Okay, so we've got the cloud, we've got retail. But we have to talk about the moonshots. Because there are two things in this report that feel like Amazon is trying to build the infrastructure for a sci-fi movie. Let's start with space. Project Leo.
Their satellite internet constellation.
Yeah. They've launched 180 satellites, targeting a commercial launch this year, 2026. This is their answer to Starlink.
That is. And they're boasting about the Leo Ultra Terminal 1 gigabit download speeds from space. That's faster than most people's fiber connection at home.
But it's costing them a fortune. The guidance mentioned a $1 billion cost increase just for Leo in Q1 2026 alone. That is a massive drag on profits. Why keep burning cash on this when Starlink is already so far ahead?
Because of the loop. Think about who their biggest cloud customers are. Governments, the military, massive logistics companies.
Entities that operate in deserts, on oceans, in the middle of nowhere.
And they all need a connection. So if Amazon can say, we will host your data in AWS, giving you the chips to process it, and we will provide the secure pipe from space to get the data there, that is a completely closed loop.
You never leave the Amazon ecosystem.
You never have to leave. It's that total vertical integration again, from the satellite in orbit right down to the server on the ground.
It's incredible. But there's another moonshot that I think is going to impact our daily lives much, much sooner than space internet.
And that's the agents.
Rufus.
Rufus, and this whole concept of agentic AI.
I have to admit, when they first launched Rufus, I thought, great, another chatbot to help me find socks.
Yeah.
But the numbers in this report are surprising. 300 million customers used it.
And it generated nearly $12 billion in incremental sales. But the real story isn't that it can chat with you, it's that it can act for you. They're moving from chatbots to agents.
Okay, what's the functional difference there?
A chatbot gives you information, an agent performs a task. The Buy For Me feature is the perfect example.
Right, explain this. Because this feels like a fundamental shift in how the internet even works.
So Rufus can now go to other websites, not just Amazon, and buy items on your behalf. You can tell it, get me those sneakers from the Nike site, and it handles the navigation, the checkout, the payment.
There, I don't even see the website. I don't see the search bar.
You don't see the search bar. And maybe more importantly, you don't see the ads.
Whoa. Okay, that's a direct shot at Google, isn't it?
It's a shot at the entire ad-supported internet model. For 20 years, the web has been search and retrieval. You search, you see a list, you see ads, you click. Amazon is building the action web.
You state an intent,
Yeah.
and the agent just fulfills it.
Exactly. And if that model takes off, the business model of search engines could just collapse.
That is terrifying for their competitors. And honestly, a little terrifying for us as users, too.
It is. We are delegating our agency to a piece of software.
So let's zoom out here. We've covered the chip war, the nuclear scale energy use, predictive retail, space internet, and AI agents that shop for us. When you look at this whole Q4 2025 report as a single document, what is the big takeaway?
To me, the so what of all this is that Amazon is no longer just positioning itself as a company. They are positioning themselves as the fundamental utility of the entire AI era.
Like an electric company.
Like an electric company, a railroad, and a telecom all rolled into one. They aren't just selling you the products, they're owning the rails, the power, and the intelligence that moves everything. That $200 billion in capex isn't just spending. It's a bid to own the physical and digital infrastructure of the next 20 years.
It's a massive, massive gamble. But they seem to have the chips, literally, to back it up.
They do. But it leaves me with a final question, and I think it's one you at home should really think about.
What's that?
We are seeing a single corporation building out infrastructure, energy, satellites, compute that rivals the capabilities of most G7 nations. At what point does a company stop being a business and start becoming something more like a global infrastructure state?
That is a heavy thought. If AWS goes down, half the world goes down with it.
Exactly. And then on a personal level, with these agents, as Rufus gets better at predicting what you need and you start using Buy for Me more and more, are you really ready to hand over your purchasing power to an algorithm?
Does the algorithm eventually know what I want better than I do?
It just might. And if it does, is the convenience worth losing the choice?
That is something to chew on the next time you tap Buy Now.
Yeah.
We're going to leave it there for today. An incredible look at the future, all through the lens of a balance sheet. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.
Thanks, everyone.